still no names. But Michael Moss today, September 29th, 2025. So let me tell you a little ICR story. I never tell ICR stories. All right, when I first started meeting guys that were actually in ICR, I kind of found out about them in a weird way. Basically, I was doing clubs in LA, not as a bouncer, but like working as like a production assistant with a buddy of mine who was doing like, you know, Black Flies would give us sponsor money, and we'd have these bands come, and it would be like club night at the Dragonfly, you know, and I'd watch the door, I'd watch the money, you know, if they needed something. I mean, basically courteous things. You know, I didn't get paid much money. I got paid mainly in merchandise and advertising space. That's when I had my own, you know, company, Depression Concepts. But, you know, I would obviously see regulars that I started knowing, you know, friends of mine that, you know, we'd exchange numbers, and I was also selling weed at the time, so, you know, I just saw people I recognized. LA is a small place like that. It's a very small town after all, you know. And there were a few times where, you know, we didn't really have like big fight. It wasn't that kind of a club. Like, it wasn't like the Vibe Awards. But I had taken a break from working with Ed for a while, who was my boss at Gorilla One Marketing. And I noticed something. And it just, I didn't know who was who and who was with who. But whenever fights broke out, it wasn't that these guys were starting fights, but they were always finishing them. And what happened was like someone would get fucked with, even someone we knew, and we wouldn't have to get involved. All of a sudden, like, people from all around the bar that you didn't even know had known each other would converge in on, and so the person would always make the mistake of getting into a fight, not knowing that the guy was there like 20 deep. And they had very unusual, I mean, I remember one time, I think the first time I ever actually brought it up to Eddie. And there was this black guy, and he was trying to get into a fight with this other guy who looked like he was going to kick his ass, right? And then you have Kurz, who's like a giant white man who's not even here, he wasn't even here legally, he's from England. He's becoming a tattoo artist. Kurz is in K-E-R-Z. And he did my tattoo on my arm and on my leg. And he comes out and he just grabs a trash can and smashes it over the guy's head who's fucking with our friend. But everyone's there deep. I mean, it's like you have to back, it's like, it's never one-on-one or it's two-on-one. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, we were either outnumbering them or they outnumbered us. Because so often they would start shit not knowing, or they would never have done that had they known the person who typically didn't look like they would be with anybody basically had all this backup there. Even if they weren't in ICR, per se. So, I mean, the club ends at 2 in the morning. You get the money at the door. You take down any banners or anything like that. DJ equipment. We had a DJ that would play shit in between the bands, whatever. All kinds of shit were going on the club. We did all kinds of productions. And then one night I said, you know, damn, you know, that guy Kurt, who the fuck is that guy, dude? You know him? He goes, oh, dude, he's fucking crazy. He's like Lurch, you know? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, he's an ICR, this and that. I'm all, oh, okay. So I start seeing these individual acts happen. And I already know about Mike, who's basically the black version of Kurz, where he's like a Black Panther, looks like Jimi Hendrix, is 6'6", and he's just really, he's like a mellow guy. He seems cool, but I don't even want to talk to him sometimes. But he's always cool to me. I knew him at the door. Because basically, you know, we had them working security because, see, you would do these club promotions in LA, and basically you were doing them with like other, like, how can I say this, groups, like Foreplay Productions. And then it would be Eddie who worked by himself with me, and I'm not really the clubber, I was just like there to help him out, like back him up. And sometimes they would say, oh yeah, you know what, you didn't get anyone at the club, because, you know, you would obviously hand out flyers, make sure you got the word out, and they would try to shortchange him. So if they made like $1,000, let's say, at the door, and he was supposed to get 300, they'd say, oh, you didn't really bring that many people, not many people came on your list, we're only going to give you 100, or we're not going to give you anything. And what is he going to do? Because these are other organizations, like party clubs type things, but businesses. So, you know, he gets drink tickets, he gets all kinds of shit. Eddie's a little arrogant. He ended up getting stabbed, actually, at an ICR party. And basically, he started using ICR as muscle. So all you had to do is what? Give him free drink tickets. So that's why I was seeing them at all these clubs. And that's why whenever something jumped off, I wouldn't say they were security, but they were definitely making sure there was no more problems after a problem started. But I could tell just by the way they were so casual and like in a bizarre way. Like I said, Curtis just smashed his trash can over the guy's head. Like they had weird ways of displaying their aggression, which wasn't even aggressive. It was just there to back up somebody. Well, I'm like, why would you get into a fight? You don't even know that guy that well. But I didn't know they were working with Eddie. So I started getting to know them better and better and better until one day I actually am taken by Eddie to their house, which is not far from my house. And that's when I first realized, what in the hell? Mike loves this story. So we pull up to a house that is in a kind of lower middle class. So it's a house. It's not like an Animal House, fraternity house or anything like that. It's like a well-kept garden, nice neighborhood. Families live in the neighborhood. But house is locked up, windows closed. There's not really any trash out front except a lot of cigarette butts. And knock on the door, and someone reluctantly opens the door. It's like 11 in the morning. And I've never been there before. I never met anyone there before. And I walk in the house, and I can tell, whoa. All the windows are like blackened out by like drapes. There are people, like thugs, passed out everywhere. Like, I don't mean like a sleepover party. I mean like, they're just like, I got to crash here. You know, so that was really, I'm like, holy shit, dude, what the fuck is this? Like, I couldn't even find a place to sit. And Eddie had some business with Pure, who's the main, who started our ICR. He's like, I got to go back and talk to Homeboy for a second. Just chill out here. And it's like pitch black, even though it was 11 in the morning. And I just go out into the den, and I'm just sitting there waiting for, you know, if someone wakes up, I'm like, hi, I'm here with Eddie. Yeah, cool. He's here to see Pure. Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, whatever. And I'll never forget, the house is all dark, and then down the hallway where Eddie went, I see a light. I see a bright light, because see, someone has opened their door where light is shining in the room, and I can see the shadow of a person, and it didn't look normal to me. I'll be honest with you, it looked like Bigfoot was coming, and I'm like, what the fuck is this about? Like, it was just a weird scenario, weird situation. I was familiar with crazy shit, which comes out later, but this is weird. So then I see, and I can clearly see this is a large man. And he looks very, very tall. And it's fucking what became my best friend, Mike. Jimi Hendrix, 6'6". Now he has his hair in a fro, which adds an extra foot to his head, which is almost literally touching the ceiling. And he's barely moping out with like waist size 54, length 89 jeans, because he racks a lot of shit. And like a really nice button-up shirt, half awake. Everyone else is still passed out. But they have a beautiful couch. They have a beautiful big screen TV. I mean, that's the way the house was always kept. We had a fish tank in the other house. And he plops down on the couch. And I'm like, hey, like, it's just like, I don't know who you are, but I know you're here with somebody. So, and what does he do? I'm thinking, stereotype or not, this is 98, that he's going to put on MTV, he must have just woken up and now he's going to watch some television. Well, he didn't just wake up. He had his alarm set because it was now noon, and he puts on Days of Our Lives, and he's watching it intently. He had been partying all night. Everyone's passed out around here, but he woke up and came out to the leather couch where I'm sitting waiting for Eddie. He woke. I mean, why would you wake yourself up? It's like a Saturday morning for him to watch Days of Our Lives, and he takes it seriously. I mean, not like a militant, like kooky guy, but he's a black guy, looks like Jimi Hendrix / Black Panther. His fro is way out of shape. He just has this weird look. He just has that look about him, you know what I mean? Like, is he a basketball player? What does he do? Like, obviously something criminal. He just looked like a thug. I wouldn't even say criminal. He looked like a thug. And he's watching Days of Our Lives. And I don't really say anything. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here, dude? And like, he doesn't care that other people are sleeping, because I didn't know it was partly his house. So these people are trying to sweep off their hangovers. They probably wish they could have gone home, but they slept on the floor while Mike has now got the TV on with Days of Our Lives, which he's not going to miss today's episode. So he's woken out of his hangover slumber to make sure he doesn't miss Days of Our Lives. And I thought this was the most bizarre thing in the world. Finally, Eddie calls me back. I meet Pure. Pure's wide awake. He's been doing business all night, right? And I don't even think it was a drug business thing. I don't know what they were talking about. But Mike, he was just whatever. Mike and Pure were best friends. They both started ICR. So my introduction to Mike is seeing him come out like that in the shadows. Yeah, it really had to be there. And seeing this guy not put on rap or anything like that, which is totally what you would think. But because he couldn't miss his soap opera. So that was really kind of a weird breaking the ice day, although we didn't really talk. And after that, we started getting to know each other at the clubs. And then the fateful words that he says. You drink, man? Do I drink? Because he knows I work with Eddie. I'm all, do I drink? At the time, I was drinking a lot. He drinks a lot. So then became, now we're drinking like crazy all the time together. Pretty much hit it off right off the bat. And, we start talking, and of course we hit it off. And I'm like, the first time I met you, man, I was like, this motherfucker is watching. He just thinks that's hilarious. He's just one of those guys. It's like, so your introduction to me was, I'm watching Days of Our Lives, this and that. And I'm like, what do you do? Do you rack? Like, what do you do? Do you steal? He's like, do a little of this, a little of that. He's like, I was in college, and I just didn't finish it up. And I'm like, oh, what were you going to college for? Theology. Theology? He really was. He was going to get his degree in theology. It makes sense now, but at the time I'm like, wait a minute. I saw you beat a guy down the other night. You're in theology? Okay, whatever. That many people would admit that, but that was part of the ICR way. Like, that wouldn't really be that cool in front of a bunch of guys. I'm working at the mechanic shop. No, he was honest. He was going to see something for theology. And then at that point, we started doing a lot more like Larry Flint Productions. So we were doing adult video film awards. Now, Larry Flint was very cool, and so he invited Eddie to not just do the clubs, but basically, bring who you want with you. So Eddie turned it into like a whole big, like, let's all go to Vegas and have a great time. I don't even think Eddie, my boss, fucking asshole, invited me. At that point now, I'm friends enough with the ICR guys that they're inviting me, do you want to come with us? Oh yeah, because Mike was actually sleeping with one of the porn stars who actually was kind of hot. And she smoked weed, and that was one of the things, I was a safe weed dealer that, I wasn't asking for pussy for drugs. So Mike said, you can come and bring a bunch of your weed, which I sold out the first night. So it was great for me because I'm gambling and making money at the same time. So I got this customer base is traveling with me. And that's where we really started just drinking it up. And like it was kind of almost awkward for other people because like everyone loved Mike. Mike is the main guy. And I'm this new guy that didn't even go to high school with him or anything like that. And we're just hanging out drinking the whole time. Like we just drink. And 24/7. And like we don't even gamble all the time. We're just drinking. And that was the main time we became really close friends. And then when I found out where their new house was, it was literally down the street from me, which is weird. Because we're talking about Los Angeles. So they're living in the valley, but the ICR was initially stood for Inner City Rebels. For Mike, it was CR, Civilized Revolution. And Mike was, like I said, the Black Panther type. He had a door knocker, nice, beautiful brass door knocker. I mean, during Christmas, it had the nicest Christmas lights in the street. We had Christmas trees. Everyone cooked Thanksgiving dinner. You would never guess that it was like what I'm describing to you. And it really was a conglomeration of people, mainly, some were just, one of them was becoming a lawyer. The other guy was a sniper, actually, in the Israeli military, but now he was in the U.S. He was going to get married, Tziki. And most of the guys, including me, were all ex-guys that had gotten out of the gang life. They weren't really about that anymore. So they were all in different gangs, which may have even been rivals before. In fact, I remember talking to Sung the first time and being like, yeah, this time I got jumped by CC1. And he's in that gang. He doesn't remember the incident. So I'm telling stories about like fights with gangs that these guys were in those gangs. But now everyone's kind of like, well, we don't have girlfriends. We're not married. We just like to party. And, we need to make money. But we're not into gangbanging anymore because we're all in our late 20s. Fast forward it now, and I didn't realize the situation. I found out later on. But you cannot join the ICR, and there's only about maybe 20 or 30 active members at a time. There's about 100 people that hang out with us that claim ICR, And they can claim it, that's fine. But actual members of ICR, like to actually be able to say, I'm a member of ICR, I'm a ranking person in ICR, like you got to get touched, and they have to come to you. You can't, if you ask to join, and it never occurred to me, I wasn't going to ask to join. I thought they were a gang, and you can never join. And so there was a lot of guys like Ice Cube's brother or cousin, Obsess, asked to join. We couldn't join. Why? Because you can't ask. You got to do something. And I don't know what it was that they saw, but there was a couple times where Don acted like Don, with no one else around, and they observed that, and they watch you do shit. And there are little tests that I guess they do. I mean, it wasn't that serious. But like I remember Carlos got in trouble. We never carried guns. And we would say, because, you know, they're magnets for cops. And also, we're going to get drunk and use them on the wrong person, probably ourselves. I mean, so there was, my whole depression thing was really, it went very congruently with what Carlos and Mike were going through. You know, they were down with that. They knew I wasn't about like, boo-hoo, life sucks. I was like, drive the wrong way on the freeway guy. Drink alcohol all day. Depression. Sucks. The world. Fuck the world. So when they came to me and they asked me, do you want to be an ICR? Now, I met them through Eddie. I've been working with Eddie for 8 years. And they said to me, well, you know, we asked Eddie about you, and he's talking shit. So now they're turning against Eddie. I thought that was weird. Like, I didn't understand it. Yeah, but that's work shit. They were talking about the ICR as a family. And he was like, yeah, we don't think he should be an ICR. I don't think he should be an ICR and this and that. So they've got Eddie strung along thinking he should be an ICR. That caused a problem later. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I didn't really realize what it meant and what I was becoming a part of. Well, you know, I guess I'm getting too close to them. Like, we didn't tell Eddie, quote unquote. There was no announcement made. Don is now a member, an active, you know, member of ICR. The way it happened was this. Another big party at another house above a tattoo shop on Ventura Boulevard. And Eddie, now acting like the knucklehead he is, which is why he wasn't allowed in ICR or wasn't touched to be in ICR, goes, oh, we've got so-and-so and so-and-so here. It's a couple other guys we work with. And Don, they think they're in ICR now. Hey, let's jump him in. See, he thinks he's in ICR. Now, I'm thinking this is real. So he's like, yeah, let's jump these guys in, man. Let's fuck them up tonight so they can finally be in ICR. Like, he didn't get it yet. He didn't get it. We're like, you know, like all these guys are really pretty hardcore guys. Eddie never gangbanged. You know what I mean? He knew a lot of people, but he was more of a Hollywood type than he was a gangbanger. And so they have 3 of us. One of them's Brian, the DJ for Eddie. The other guy, I forgot who he was. He just hangs out with ICR. Now, I had already talked to Mike and Pure. So I knew I was in ICR already, kind of like without having to get jumped in or whatever. And so basically everyone's like, you know, rooting and hooting. And everyone else at ICR is there, the girls, the guys. And I'm in the middle of this circle, and I'm in the middle of these 2 guys, and we're about to get stomped out. And I'm drunk, so I'm like, you know, whatever. I was in my crazy age where I'm like, you know, if I get beat down, whatever, I get a beat down. But these guys are going to fuck me up bad. They begin to rush us. I'm ready for the beat down. And they begin to start beating the living crap out of the guy to the right of me and to the guy to the left of me. And probably never once even bumped into me. And I'm standing there like, okay, what's going on? Like, but I could feel it was so clear that no one targeted me that, like, I wasn't going to back out. I mean, I moved out of the way a little bit, but, like, I wasn't worried someone was going to come from behind. I mean, they were stomping these guys out. They stomped them the fuck out. And they're not enemies of them, but they're not in ICR. And so, like, they had to leave the party. They had to go to the hospital and shit. And Mike comes up and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, and he was kind of insulting Eddie, because Eddie kept thinking he was an ICR, like we're going to jump people in like we're a Mexican gang, like we're MS-13 or some bullshit crew. Like we hadn't been through that already, which is exactly what was going through my mind. And he goes, you know, we don't jump fucking our friends. Like, if you haven't been through shit, we know you're ready to die for us. We don't need to practice on each other. Those 2 are not in ICR. You are in ICR. And I could tell by the way people's reaction that they could tell the same thing. That because they didn't touch Don, oh, Don's the new member. But Eddie, not knowing what's going on, is like, yeah, you didn't even touch Don. What the fuck, dude? It's because they don't fight their friends. We save that for fighting for our friends. We don't just jump people in because you saw a movie. And I thought that was really just an interesting philosophy. Like, we already know we're badasses. We already know we run shit. We don't need to jump people in because we don't include many people in. But if you want us to do something like that, Eddie, like it just came as a whim. Okay, fine. So they beat down his other two friends, poor guys, who thought they were going to get to be in ICR, which is not going to happen. And now you're finding out that the guy that worked for you, that you said you don't think wants to be in ICR, that you are not in ICR, and now Don is an active member. And even though I still worked for Eddie, I never heard the end of it after that. I mean, it was like, dude, you know, I introduced you to them and this and that, and like, one night he tried to get all crazy with me and be like, yeah, you got to learn how to take a punch if you're in ICR. And he just punches me in the head, you know. And I'm taking it because I don't quite understand exactly all the politics. And when the guys found out about that, they're like, dude, see, fuck that guy. And like I said, he talks too much shit, and he got into a fight with the wrong guy at an ICR party. And you don't do this at the ICR house, but you know, the guy he did win the fight. He did win the fight, but then after the fight got lost by the guy, he runs over with a big blade and he fucking stabs Eddie in the back of the neck and in the back and almost kills him. And I'm out, passed out in at the time, my girlfriend's car. Nicole, hold on. And it was like 3 in the morning and I heard all this commotion. I didn't know what was going on. But of course, it was a weird deal because we had to back him up like he was in ICR. And I remember Mike coming out with a butcher knife, and he's like, you know, to so-and-so, because I wasn't allowed to tell who. The way they handled it was basically, they did not call the police. We had to take him to an emergency room, obviously. No one would. I didn't understand that. And so one of the guys in ICR, who has like the nicest car, we take him in there, just blood all over me, just blood all over us. Nobody was doing shit. But you don't do that at our house, because now it's going to bring heat on the house. And they basically dropped me off with Eddie at Northridge emergency room, and I'm like, what the fuck? They're like, dude, you got to be the one who stays. Why? Because you don't have any warrants or wants. And don't tell them who did it. Don't tell them where the house was. Just be like, yeah, you know. I'm like, what the fuck? But I was good for that. But Nicole stayed with me. I remember that. And she's like, we get him in there, and he's like totally bleeding. They come out, they assist him, etc., etc. And she's like scrubbing. I'll never forget that. That was kind of the more surreal moment of that violence. Was having this blood all over me that reeked of tequila. I remember the blood reeked of tequila. And I could not get the blood off my hands. So she had like a Comet. We're in like the nurse's restroom. And she has this like steel wool scrubber that she's trying to scrub the blood off of all my hands and shit like that. Now the police are on their way because obviously the hospital called the police. And I just can't get the blood off my hands. That doesn't sound right. But they start asking me all these questions about, I go, dude, I don't know. I'm like, I got a flyer on my car at Pierce College and this and that. And they're like, if we show you a map, tell us where the house is. And they showed me a map. And amazingly, I didn't have to lie because the house was, for some reason, it's a popular street, was not even on the map. I showed them the basic area. I go, it's right near that McDonald's because there was a McDonald's on the street. I go, man, it's not on here, man. I swear to God, it's not on here. And it wasn't on there, which is really weird, that, you know, God moment. Now, you would think, well, why wouldn't you tell the police? Why wouldn't you do this and that? Well, the guy who did it, you know, it's been 25 years, but it's 30 years. His father runs all of the Auto Trader magazines, the Recycler magazines, etc. They were millionaires. It's just his son was a punk. And that crew that he was in, which I don't even know if it was a crew, they always ended up being like fucking real snipers with us. So it really didn't surprise me that they were upset that they lost the fight to Eddie, who's not really an ICR, but we do back Eddie up. Eddie's a shit talker. I mean, everyone knew. I mean, it sounds weird for friends to say that, but like he had it coming to him. He didn't die. And basically, we tracked down where Medrano went, or the guy who did it, and he had gone to Vegas because one of our friends, basically his father was a private detective, and you could trace credit card charges. So we knew where he was staying, and basically we got in contact with the family, and we're like, look, we can turn him into the cops. They're looking for him for attempted murder. He didn't die. Or we're going to kill him. Or you can pay for the hospital bill. You can buy my friend a new car, and you can kick him down some cash, and your son will be allowed back into Los Angeles. And I mean, I wasn't there for negotiations. I don't even know how it went. I don't even think Eddie handled it. But next thing I know, Eddie's driving a brand new Ford Explorer, and he's got money, he's healthy, And that was the end of that. And I don't think we ever saw the guy again. But I knew he was back in town because I had a girlfriend who knew him. And he just didn't hang around our section. And that was what I think was said, was just keep him away from us. We promise you, we're not going to touch him. And we keep our words like that. But that's why they didn't want me telling the cops about it. Why? Because, you know, you can make some money out of this. Nothing's going to happen if the guy goes to jail. Eddie might not even get his hospital bills paid. And they were like really high. He didn't have insurance. You know, he's almost dead. And so basically they were brilliant to think of that because they knew that the parents were rich and the parents wanted their son back in town. He couldn't come. He was scared to death to come back into L.A. And finally we let him back into L.A. And because the parents just, you know, we didn't ask for an excessive amount of money. Your son's going to stay out of jail. We're never going to tell the cops. And he's allowed to come home for Christmas. But, you know, we're not being dicks. We know you have the money. And I mean, it wasn't handled like blackmail because we should have called the cops. It was handled like, look, you know, like, no, let's not call insurance on this car accident. How do you want to handle this? And the parents were more than happy to do it that way. And Eddie was happy to do it that way once he recovered. And, you know, I mean, that's just the way it went. That's the way a typical average night and party went with ICR. She started learning a lot of ways of the craft. Peace.